I will keep on talking and fighting hard to make Liberia a better place. I say, Flomo, what happened you talking all by yourself? Pajon, I am tired. I am tired of the people who can be saying Liberia can't change. So they finish giving up on Liberia. Liberia is all of our country. So we must come together and elect the best person to lead Liberia to a better place. So I am encouraging you and every other person to listen to the program Unapologetic on Sky FM 107.1 and Sky TV Channel 6 every first and last Saturday at 2 p.m. Liberian time and 10 a.m. American time. Join Duke and his team of panelists as they find ways to solve Liberia's problem. Thank you, yeah, Flomo. I'm on my way. Na 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 na. Oh, day, Liberia this, Liberia that. Me, pa, I will not give up on Liberia. I will keep on talking and fighting hard to make Liberia a better place. I say, Flomo, what happened you talking all by yourself? Pajon, I am tired. I am tired of the people who can be saying Liberia can't change. So they finish giving up on Liberia. Liberia is all of our country. So we must come together and elect the best person to lead Liberia to a better place. So I am encouraging you and every other person to listen to the program Unapologetic on Sky FM 107.1 and Sky TV Channel 6 every first and last Saturday at 2 p.m. Liberian time and 10 a.m. American time. Join Duke and his team of panelists as they find ways to solve Liberia's problem. Thank you, yeah, Flomo. I'm on my way. Na 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 na.
So we had a little issue wherein Facebook for copyright business went ahead and blocked a certain music that we're playing in the back, and that allowed that actually impacted our feed and shut down our entire broadcast because of the Facebook live restriction that was actually placed on the podcast as well. However, we're back and up. Please share the link again. We apologize for the breaks in between. We're on here and we'll go strictly into our conversation, but by first introducing our team here as we get ready for another tough talking show as well. Mia, Gabriel, everybody, how are you guys doing today? And gals,
Oh, we doing great.
I know
We
we had a
doing
little bit
great.
of problem with the feed here when Facebook actually dropped us for due to copyright infringement, but that's okay. We're back on. That's what technical. That's how technical difficulties operate. But we'll be there. So let me go around the room. Matadi, how are you tonight? Matadi, check your volume. You there? All right. While Matadi is getting his audio ready there, I will go to Gabriel. Gabriel, how are you? Unmute your audio, Gabriel, if you can.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, it's
Yes.
great to be back here. Hopefully we'll have a great. I think what we have to talk about today is you know, it's a trending issue, and hopefully we can have a good discussion. You know, um, about that. But it's always good to be here. Always good to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Miata, you started off with a strong intro. I want to say thanks for that. There as well. That was pretty powerful. And how are you doing today, Miata?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm ready. Cause for Liberia to be better, we gotta speak the truth and stay true to ourselves. You know. Yep.
Absolutely. For Liberia to be better, we have to stay the course and actually speak the truth. So while we're on there, guys, please share the link for us. We lost our feed earlier because of Facebook copyright issues. They pretty much did not like the song we're playing. That's why now I'm just going to just stop playing music and just move into the program. And they
Yeah.
actually shut us down. But we're back up again, and the link's here. So if you can, just go ahead and share the link so we can be able to get people back on here as we go forward. Again, welcome to Alan. Welcome to Siliki. Welcome to Olivia. All of these people that actually, are here following us tonight. I really do appreciate it. I will share it in the group again as well there. But Tim, let's go in straight into the conversation here because we have an important information to cover here tonight. And I want to kick off with this, and let's go ahead and watch this video.
Somebody may have just told him the wrong information. Somebody may have just given him the wrong information. The truth is there are people out there who are using my name. Maybe it was the wrong Miguel. But it's the truth. The truth is there are a lot of people who claim to be Miguel. And you can ask a lot of people, yeah, people have been calling and they're using my name, Miguel. We reported it to the police. Reported it to the press. The media has written story, arrested people who claim to be Minister of State. Go on Facebook. They put on in Nathaniel Elmagil, Minister of State. They are calling people. Maybe because these people are actions who are doing this thing. And people think I'm the one doing it, but I'm not the one doing it.
Listen, I want to add a little bit of absurdity to this one, but so what you witness is a video recording today that occurred. So apparently, the Minister of State and Presidential Affairs, not McGill, had a little interview with Al Jazeera News, and a conversation about the sanction was actually brought out. And the video you just saw was McGill's response to the sanction. And allegedly, or apparently, McGill thinks that the sanction was actually placed on him because people on social media are actually using his information. Other people are actually doing things he said. He reported to the police. But McGill is pretty much telling us that the United States investigation does not make sense and is not true because he was not the one that should have been indicted or actually, tagged for, sanctions per corruption, and that other people were involved. I'm going to allow you guys to take control, but let me start quickly here with Gabriel. Gabriel, I saw you laughing. What do you make of McGill assertions?
I when I watch anybody you watch that video, the first thing that come to your mind is that this guy is maybe he was even he not in a arrested amount when he had an interview. But then again, if you the more you listen to it, the more you understand that he's serious about what he's saying in terms of people on social media hacking his page and using his name, and he thinks that those are the information that the U.S. government used to sanction him. That supposedly those hacking his page, the act that they have committed, is what the U.S. government used to sanction him. That's how absurd this thing is, right? At one point, you would laugh, but on the other end, you feel sorry for the guy out of sheer ignorance. Ignorance. Like to think that a sanction was placed on you because of certain people hacking your page or somebody using the wrong name on social media. No, they know they have talked to your immediate sources, your immediate colleagues. They have they have traced every account. They have traced every activity, right? Those are the kind of information they have on you. It has nothing to do whether your name is Nathaniel L. McGay or something else. No, it has nothing to do with that. So again, this is someone who is appealing to the ignorant. The same conversation that he has with Liberian here in Liberia. He think that's the same conversation he can take to the international body, right? So that's how absurd this thing is. To me it sounds crazy that somebody, if you're in that much of a water, like deep crap, you would think somebody like that will have a lawyer say, "Let me have my lawyer speak." But the guy's continuing to dig himself into a well, and obviously somebody just gonna put dirt. He's gonna keep putting dirt over himself, and I mean, it's laughable, my man. It's laughable. It's just laughable. Yeah.
And Gilbert, you said it right. And this is, when I saw it, not only did I laugh, but nothing. By the way, let me just say this: I'm no longer surprised about anything that comes out of the mouths of people associated with the CDC administration. And I've said it repeatedly. The reason why this government is failing is because there's just too many people in positions of authority that
Right.
don't understand what they're doing. And Mr. Cummings said it before. These people don't understand the enormity of the tax at hand. And it's actually revealing itself. When we say that seditionists don't really get it, this is what it is. This is somebody who's the minister of state, minister of state and presidential affair, right? At one point in time, it was why actually before the sanction, it was believed that Nat McGill was actually running right
There
the
you go.
government because he was the decision maker because George Weah did not really have what it takes to be able to run the government. And he tells you that the greatest country in the world that is noted for the most sophisticated form of intelligence
Hmm.
only play a sanction on him because they heard it from it went because of hearsay from people. But anyway, I will break. Let me go to Matadi. Matadi, you heard a video from Nat McGill. You're in Liberia. We've covered this issue here a lot of times. You tell me exactly what do you make of it?
It's actually laughable, but a young woman, what I see about it just the labor beating him. What I mean, labor is that you cannot um that should be distributed equally a
He's breaking up.
little amount of public revenue. You supposed to get job, supposed to get education, opportunity for everyone. If you go to jail,
Mhm.
there's no bed. Right now they're going to
Okay.
tell you to pay for, and you get resources that belong to these, and then you expect free. No. So he's just himself, and digging a grave day, he will
All right.
just cover.
So
Thank you.
Matadi, check your mic for us. You're breaking in and out,
Yeah,
and
you're
it's
breaking up.
important because we really want you to be able to add your voice to this conversation. Let's move the needle a little bit here and let's expand there. So, what Nat McGill said is that you know people are using his name for some of these corrupt activities, right? That's been linked to him. McGill also says that people on Facebook have been responsible for some of the things that he has been accused of.
Yeah.
And the logic there in response to what McGill is saying that how could the greatest country in the world that is so sophisticated and US intelligence will indict you and actually place sanctions on you because of hearsay? To me, it doesn't make sense. But if there's anything Gilbert said it clearly. The sadness in all of this is that there is this basket of ignorance, this a basket of foolery, right? This thing here that's definitely embarrassing an entire country. If you can come up and make that excuse, now my train of thought here is, how does the United States or anybody even take you seriously?
Thank you.
I
Okay.
mean, how could somebody even look at or conduct a review based upon what you were suggesting? You understand me? It's a weak argument. It does not have any iota of truth. And it even tells us that, you know what? If look, truthfully speaking, I think we talked about it a few minutes before we started the show. If I was not McGill, I would keep my mouth shut,
Thank
and
you.
and possibly have somebody else, right, help me to be able to communicate. But just further indicting yourself does not help, and it's going to create problems for him. Gabriel, you want to expand on that?
No, I absolutely agree with everything you said. Like when I watched that, the first thing I did, I just burst out in laughing that it will even come from like this is somebody who is second in command of a republic of a democratic republic country, right? To say to imply that the people that sanction you, like you said, you mentioned that this is the greatest country in the world. I keep telling you, before they sanction you, they have gathered enough intelligence. Like from your grandma, they know who you talk to at night, everything, your phone call. It may have been tapped, even forget them even saying they're talking to your close associate. They may have even tapped your phone to gather all that data, right? So they have enough evidence on you. But to come out on a international media and imply that this is done out of hearsay because of your name misuse on Facebook, that it just tells you that I don't. What are they going to do to you? They won't even like you have just dug yourself into a bigger hole. Like Duke said, if I were you, I would just shut up and let. But hey, maybe people are telling him to. That's what the message he need to
Yeah,
peddle so
yeah,
to get himself off the sanction list. Well,
yeah,
whoever's telling you that, they're just. I'm sorry to say, if you pay that individual, they're just lying to you. That you are on that sanction list. You should look at people who have been on that sanction list. Vonnie Sherman, if you don't even want to look at Vonnie Sherman or Prince Johnson, look at people that are on. Like, I will give you an example. I keep mentioning her name, Isabel Dos Santos, a
you did.
billionaire.
Yeah, you have.
Now
Yeah,
you don't even hear about her because they sanction her. Let alone somebody who doesn't even understand what the implication of a sanction is. Like, can you imagine what's going to happen to you? These are people who have money sitting around that can hire the best lawyer. The sanction has decimated them. Let alone you who you don't even understand what just happened to you, right? It's like you get hit in a car accident and you all of a sudden want to get up, but have no idea that you just had a whiplash that will affect you for the rest of your life. Like
yeah.
you have no idea. So that's the level of ignorance that is in our country, and especially around all those people who got sanctioned. You know,
Yeah,
I,
and like I
I
said,
feel
it
bad for the
speaks.
guy. Seriously.
Yeah, it speaks volume in terms of the kind of people that's running the country, and it further amplifies our message that these people don't know what they're doing. And you know what though? If you can come up and make that kind of absurd or give that kind of absurd response, it is easier to even track the things that you're doing in the first place because there is nothing sensible attached to what you're saying. Matadi, how's your mic looking? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm hearing you guys. Okay.
Okay, so Nat McGill said that people on Facebook and people using his name probably conducted activities or fraudulent activities that got him ended him on the sanction list. What do you make of that?
First of all, I would like to say, Nana Mayo is a guy. He's corrupt, and so he has to accept everything that comes his way. Um, you see, firstly, it is God that's trying to get him down doors. Like I previously said, you cannot take resources that should be equally distributed to people, and then you just claim it to be yours. And you alone has the right to tell the president, appoint this person, tag this person, do this. You have all the ultimate power. It is completely wrong. And when it to that particular point, it's when the devil can come in. So I'm saying Nathan Michael, he would just keep putting himself in situation like we say, I said, he can't handle. So
So, Matadi, if you have two phones on, you might want to shut one down because it's
Yes.
really, really tempering your feed and we're not really hearing you. You're saying some real good stuff, but we have to work on the audio there. So, check it again and see what's going on. It's probably the mic fitting in and out. And just adjust or get on the iPad or so and see if we can do that. But just adjust it a little bit there for us. We can't hear you at all. So, Matadi was trying to shed some light on, Lieutenant McGill and just I believe he was pointing towards his role in government and just making that kind of accusation just shows that he's guilty of something. So that's a great point.
Yeah.
But listening audience, tonight is a little bit of Nathaniel, Jewell, but it is mostly about this thing that's circulating on social media. It has actually gained a lot of attention and absolutely, this thing now is creating a serious pandemonium, panic in the camp of the ruling party. You know, for a long time, they said that Mr. Cummings was new to politics. He didn't really understand the dynamics of Liberian politics. And we've repeatedly told you guys that this is a joke. And the joke is on all of you because you have failed to see exactly what's happening and how this man is now influencing our body politics. And we saw it from the CPP. Vocal, taking head on system characters who have continued to destroy our country. But a few days ago, Mr. Cummings wrote a letter, an open letter to the President of the Republic of Liberia. And when Mr. Cummings wrote that letter, he had some valid points, suggestions, basically cautioning the government and reminding them that they had the sole responsibility of not only protecting the democracy or the interest of the Liberian people, but make sure that the president was doing his due diligence in making sure that those corrupt individuals in government that were sanctioned should be terminated
Yep.
and the full weight of the law should apply.
Yep.
A day later, the Congress of Democratic Change felt that it made sense for a bunch of hoodlums and individuals to respond. But they didn't just take on the issue. They didn't focus on addressing all of the conversation in that brilliant first letter that Mr. Cummings wrote. They came back with insult, fallacies, and bunch of jokes in that particular response. You know, Gabriel, when I saw the response, I said, this is bad. Whoever's advising the ruling party in Miata, whoever's telling George Weah and the people to be that arrogant and disrespectful in responding to Mr. Cummings, listening, they are cleverly or actually stupidly indicting the government of Liberia because when Mr. Cummings speaks, the international community listens. When Mr. Cummings writes, international body pay attention. And when Mr. Cummings specifically raised some points, those are intentional words meant to bring to the forefront, to the spotlight, issues that the international community, our international partners, need to be focused on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next section of the letter. Today, we're going to go back to Mr. Cummings' recent response. We're going to dissect it, and we're going to talk about different things that we believe. And once we're done with the letter, we'll close up. And then next Saturday on radio, we will have further discussions about this particular point. So, Gabriel, you saw the letter. Miata, you saw it as well. Just generally speaking, Miata, let me start with you. What do you make of Mr. Cummings' letter?
The people said Mr. Cummings was new to the Liberia party still. They say, oh, the man I won't start nothing. But Mr. Cummings wrote, I see everybody, they just shaking. Everybody's shaking. Mr. Cummings said what he said. And I think more of the letters. When George Weah, I hear people keep saying, oh, George Weah shouldn't respond. Let George Weah keep responding. We want him to keep talking. Let Joy talk. Because the more he talk, the more it comes out.
Mm.
So let Joy keep talking. And anytime he talk, because the people that are advising him, the people that are advising, they lying to him, most of them are praise singer behind him. They don't tell him the truth. And like I tell people, George Weah is his own problem. George Weah is a grown man. So the people say Mr. Cummings new to our Liberian politics. Let Mr. Cummings be new. When Mr. Cummings finish with those people, Liberia will change. Liberia will be better. That's all we want. So the naysayer, let it keep saying, oh, this, that, and the other. They can say Mr. Cummings said what he said. So that's it, though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miadan. Gabriel, we saw that letter. Tell me, what do
Yes.
you think about it?
So, oh boy, where do I start? All right, I will start because I went through it. I've been reading that thing over and over. I will pick through it. Just like the way he did it, it was just like what I call a death by a thousand cuts, like piece by piece by piece by piece by piece, and just rip into this guy. The noise that you keep hearing on social media, this is one thing that they keep missing. In that letter, he's calling attention to issues, but I think that went over everybody's head, right? We're making all this noise. It went over everybody's head, right? The first paragraph, he talked about the declaration and publishing of assets. If I were president, I won't just declare my assets, I will publish it. That's one of the bigger issues we have, right? That's one of the bigger issues we have. But people miss that part of it. They say, oh, this is a tick for tack. He wrote a letter, the man wrote him back. But no, in those very detailed letter, he's calling on issue, right? The second paragraph, he also talked about the implication of the sanction, right? And if I were president, the president has the power to fire people, right? You have the power. You don't have to go through seeking what we call it due process. You can those people that get sanctioned, you can suspend them, but also fire them as well, right? So he you know looping this guy in and telling him what to do on this very specific issue that are affecting our country. But I think people keep missing those points. The third paragraph, preserving the integrity of the entire government. If he had fired those people, it wasn't just him firing the people. It was, hey, these people are corrupt, but by me firing them, I am protecting the rest of the people that are working within the government. So it's not about those three people, but the entirety of the government. As I said, those things it kept going over people's head, right? He also called attention to how many Liberians are suffering, right? The president keep living on his past glory, or what you keep hearing on social media. The man went to camps, he gave people money, blah blah blah. Listen, I will tell you here, I lived in three countries before, two other countries before coming out. I lived in Ivory Coast for 7 years, in Ghana for 4. On the camp, we used to be on the camp. The George where I used to go there. Now, one has he given anybody money on the camp on that camp? I say it. I've lived there. Maybe he may have done it on other places in other camps, but not in the one in Ghana. I can tell you that, right? So he keeps saying that, right? Those are the past glory he keep living on. So Mr. Cummings keep calling his attention to forget what you did. The last 5 years you've been here, what have you done? There are Liberians who are suffering as a consequence of the policies or your lack thereof of taking actions, right? That's another part of it, right? And there was another one that I wasn't even aware of about him funding rebels. I've
We
never heard of this, right? And I'm
exactly.
like, this
You've
guy,
hit you've hit the point,
right?
and that's a really really key point. I want to actually, oh, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Let's talk about that. That has been a really really touchy subject because along that
go
line
ahead.
we came across something that has to do with the violent side of the president. So let me read it.
Hmm.
You pronounce yourself as a peaceful man, Mr.
Yep.
President. It will be unfair for me to pronounce you to be otherwise. However, you cannot refute that a peaceful man would not headbutt a, a fellow player on
Yep.
the pitch as you did to George Costa, causing him a bloody face and a broken nose in the infamous Porto versus Milan game.
Mm,
I'm going to come back to that part, and then
yep.
we'll go into what you said.
Yep.
One of the boss issue has been Mr. Cummings' decision to reference the incident on the pitch against another player by George Weah. And I welcome those conversations,
Hmm.
and I tell people all the time that it is so easy to shred. The argument from the other side is that George Weah is not a violent person,
Hmm.
and it is somebody said, a majority of them, that it is something that is common in soccer, wherein players headbutt each other and leave with bleeding nose. Now, I play soccer. I watch soccer. I'm a Liverpool fan. And I don't know where in the FIFA code of conduct or even in any soccer body, a sports body code of conduct, that it says that headbutting and wounding another player is actually part of the game of soccer. But the question here is, though, does that constitute or does that equate to this level of the president being violent? I want to come here a little bit, Gabriel, before
Yeah.
you come in to tackle that particular point. Let's go back to the definition of violence: behavior involving physical force intended to hurt, damage, or kill someone or something. That leads me to my point as we dig a little deeper in this conversation.
Mm.
If that is the definition of violence, and the president considered himself a peaceful man with no violent past, do you think that Mr. Cummings was right for actually using that incident as a reference point? And based upon the definition, the context, and the incident itself, is it right for us to consider that a violent incident?
Yeah. And Duke, I think you laid this out perfectly fine. So, like you said, we all play soccer, right? Forget even if we didn't play soccer, we all watch the Premier League.
Yeah,
There are times you see some aggressive fouls on people. All they do is get up and run up to you and just, like, hey, I want to do something, but I can't because there is rules within the body of soccer that prevents that. Like, even if you were, a angry person, it limits you from doing that. Now, for somebody who has gone above that to the point you take personal conversations supposedly that happened, on the pitch and go and butt somebody to the point physically attack them, that tells you that one, you have you cannot control your temperament. Two, there's a beast that was working within you. There's a level of anger within you, right? That was awakened within you, and you have no control over that. What does that tell you? Does that tell you that that's the person who's peaceful, right? And people make this argument. I've heard this argument. Oh, Jesus, even Jesus was a peaceful man, but he got upset and beat the people out of the temple, right? That is a different argument. That is a different argument. I mean, like as I said, if you watch the Premier League, there are players who are fouls are commit upon on them. There are sometimes the people are playing where they're chunking bananas on the field, right?
yeah,
Because they apply because because of racism. Why do you
yeah,
think those people can't get up and go in the crowd and go fight those people,
yeah,
right? Or even the other other teammates or opposing teammates, right? That is the logical point that we've been missing on here. That's the argument that they're making out there. But for somebody to get up and hit somebody on the field, there's a level of anger within them. There's a level of violence within them that was awakened. So that's I want to leave it on that note.
and that's a great point, and that's been my argument. My argument here is that look, it is violent, even if you're playing a game of soccer or football. It does not mean that because you're on that pitch, you have this free pass to go ahead and attack somebody, to injure somebody, and you say, "Oh, we're playing it," and the referee will handle that. That's absurdity, right? Now, in the context of peacefulness, and violence. It shows that you have an underlying issue.
Yeah.
And that underlying issue is that you as a person, right, have some kind of violent pattern to you. So Mr. Cummings in that context was right when he referenced that particular part of it. When he said that the president was showing some sign of violence when he headbutted, in the Porto game, it was absolutely right. And there's nothing wrong with it because these are all facts. It's not a mere accusation. And actually, what did George Costa do? He took him to court.
He did.
Outside of that, right?
Yeah.
So that's an entire case. So moving on here, but let me ask Mieta. Mieta, do you have something to say about that particular part of it?
Mm. Yeah, the people say, Josh, I live in the Ivory Coast though. I was in the Ivory Coast for 4.5 years. Like Gabriel said, I live in the Ivory Coast. I never saw George Weah one day. And we didn't even have refugee camp. They had transit center.
Mm.
You hear me? It was in Malaga. Right up there. I know it. That's where it was. When you go there, people family were in America, you're sending them money. You just go over there and you don't even have to spend the night. Your family come, they get you, or you be there. George Weah never came. When George Weah came to the Africa, when he was in his ambition, or when he come to Danande, maybe George Weah used to come there for his side squeeze then. He don't come there for free. He don't come there to come feed nobody. They put them to start lying. Let me speak here. Our real brain, they must start lying. They start lying.
Mhm.
They put them lie too much. Peace ambassador. They on Facebook writing, oh, you're not supposed to say this and that below the belt. We will say it because when you're ready to write and lie on Mr. Cummings, you'll be lying on him. So John, we are on the team and will come up. John, we are in feed nobody. Even the people in refugee camp, we know people in refugee camp. The people say he didn't feed them, and he went there to meet and start squeeze them. Because like the era. We're not gonna be lying. So they put my start lying. And me, I will keep on. I want to tell again to my people.
You will get to them when we reach to that part
Yo,
shortly. No, Brandon point. But Mieta, Gabriel,
Yeah.
listen to me.
Hello.
Something, yes. Matadi, I will come to you shortly. Oh, Matadi, you watch soccer? Why, you're an Arsenal fan?
No, I'm a Barcelona.
Barcelona.
You're a Barcelona fan. So the people say hair button paddles is the game of soccer and it's
Uh,
not considered violent. What do you make of that?
let me say something quickly, right?
Go ahead.
But that Josh Weah did, that should be 1996. That occurred in 1996, if I may be correct.
Yeah,
Let's
95, 96, yeah.
right, 95, 96. Josh Weah won $1 billion in 1995. He was on the correct trajectory to win it the second time in a row.
Mhm.
I hear, but he lost it
Mhm.
completely to from Brazil. And even the Brazilian himself confessed that George Weah was to win it. Whenever you have say, any scandal on you, FIFA do not t-shirt where they don't give it to you. Zidane. Why did
Zidane.
Ballon d'Or in 2006? It was because Zidane in 2006 doing the World Cup, Italy versus France. Because of that, he was not able to win the Ballon d'Or. So people shouldn't be saying that, oh, it's just that because he's placed in a position where he's held to be a god, but he's a different human being.
And that's a great point, Matadi. Let me go for that. Gabriel Matadi Mieta. It gets dicey. This letter that's making this round and has become the mecca of Liberian politics, the one that's actually made us to realize that, you know what, we are now in this campaign spirit for 2023. I'm telling you, this letter, I believe, set the tone for 2023. And you know what, though? This is the coming out party for Mr. Cummings because what he did in this letter, I believe Mr. Cummings Mr. Cummings set the stage and separated himself. But I
Yeah.
want to go further because we have work to do tonight. Mr. Cummings goes further. He says, you cannot credibly refute claims that you contributed and helped to the direct activities of the movement for democracy in Liberia, model
Yeah.
of factional group in the Liberian Civil War, including paying for logistical support in 2002 for model rebels to travel from the Ivory Coast ports to Sino County in Liberia to fight against Taylor's government. May I remind you, the Liberians died in that military misadventure. It is also reported that you rented fishing boats and provided guns and ammunition estimated, this is important, listen, at US $150,000 to Model. As much earlier in 1999, you provided food and supplies costing between US $20,000 to US $25,000 to Liberians United for Reconciliation and Development, LURD, another rebel group in the Liberian Civil War. It has been further claimed that you did so to foster your long-held ambition for the Liberian presidency as initially suspected by the former President Taylor, whose unconstitutional removal you supported.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, now by unconstitutional, he meant that by sponsoring all of those rebel groups, you chose violence, you chose war, you chose putting the Liberian people's lives at risk because you were so obsessed with power. But then you call me obsessed for the presidency? Gentlemen, before I go forward, I want you guys to weigh in.
So
We have heard about these things, Gabriel.
yeah.
This is possibly by far the first time we have seen actual dollar amounts and details
Hmm.
about how it was done, what was contributed. That kind of information cannot be provided in the letter if it did not come from somewhere or there was
Correct.
not any details, right? From
Yeah.
somewhere credible. You've got to start thinking. Remember when I said that the CDC, if they knew what I know, look, knowing what I know, especially just being involved in the sanctions by the United States government, it was clearly a mistake to respond. Now the international community knows that George Weah sponsored war in Liberia. Gabriel, go ahead and take it from here.
No, I think it was a, what do you call it? What I call a tick for tack. Yeah, as I said, that information I have no idea that it existed, but it further, shed lights on, like we always said, the evil that man does lives after them. Like even though it was buried, you know, I I am sure he's wishing that he had never responded to that letter, the first letter, because if he didn't respond to it, this wouldn't have come out, right? But the question, because I think the biggest question that we need to ask with those statement, right? If it weren't true, do you think he would have refuted them? He would have
Refuted.
came out publicly to refute all of those statements and claims and supposedly, right? But up to now, it took up to now for it to come out, and yet there is not a refute. Like he has not refuted any of those things. So that, what does that tell you? There's a level of credibility to those statements. That's the reason why he hasn't done so, right? And so this is again, it goes to the person who's calling himself peaceful.
Mhm.
You are peaceful, but you're funding rebel that end up taking the lives of other. This is like you saying, by any means necessary, even if that means blood and death, I'm going to get to the presidency,
Yeah,
even if that means shedding my fellow citizens, lives. Right,
compromising the interests of
right,
Liberians,
exactly.
the lives of Liberians
Right,
for
and
your
people
ambition.
died. People died in that
People
in that
died.
process. So
Rockets were
that means,
thrown into Greystone.
right,
Rockets were thrown at government public schools, compounds where young people sought refuge. People were killed.
yeah. So
Okay,
that means that this whole war and economic crime code that we're petitioning for, guess what, buddy? Your name is going to be on that list as well, right? Your name is going to be on that list as well. And this further disprove this whole argument that you are a peaceful guy. That like this whole persona that you guys have put out there, that you're a peaceful person. No, just because somebody the UNICEF make you a peace ambassador doesn't necessarily mean you're peaceful. They do that because of your popularity. And I think this is why Liberian people confuse like, oh, the man was peace ambassador. No, they do
Yeah.
that for his popularity, but not because of they know that oh the guy is peaceful. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that
That's a great point. Matadi, you want to put something on there?
right.
Yeah. The issue just we are being the peace ambassador. I think it is because UNICEF saw his popularity, and we were looking up to him and seeing him as a role model and the life that was lost in Liberia. So UNICEF saw that as a strategy him to put an end to the war. But actually, it doesn't mean that he had some these underneath. Do you ever? Why is it that they up to today have not come up to Representative Yeke Kolba made that that the president supported war in this country, and I have evidence. If the president, I will resign. And up to today, the president have not to say it's a lie. I will tell you for sure, from close source to Yeke Kolba, you know the reason why Yeke Kolba the president, or some people say he hit the president, is not that he hit. I will tell you for sure that Yeke Kolba and the president, they were once like this when Yeke was. Remember when George Weah, when Taylor made a claim that this people claim that Taylor wanted to kill him, Yeke Kolba and I think the two guys that took George Weah out of this country and they saved him from Taylor. Yeke Kolba knows more than any other Liberian know about George Weah. And that is why one man is speaking, I listen to him keenly. Even though he do not express, civilized say, but I think he said many things with logic.
Yeah.
So that have to dispute perception of the Liberian mind. Thank you.
Matadi, great point. And I want us to speed along, touching the issue of violence, war contributor, right? And evidence showing that now the president not only showed violent tendency when he headbutted another player on the field, but he took that and actually poured money into supporting rebel groups to attack the people of Liberia, even led to the deaths of Liberians. The same people he said he went to see Abu Dubura. But you know what, though? Let's go further here.
Yeah.
So Mr. Cummings said this. Oh man, let me get back here so I can go to that part. This is interesting. Very, very interesting here, right? I'm trying to find that point and I just lost it, but go ahead, Miana.
Can I come in a little bit?
Yes, go ahead.
Like what's his name, Matali was saying, right? I'm telling you, Duke, we was little, but some of us remember our history. When Charles Taylor and Josh Weah, Charles Taylor told Josh Weah, you think you sneaky. You want to run one day for public office in this place, in this country. But the day you do it, I will expose you. And this is where this coming from. In our letter when Mr. Cummings saying that George we are sponsor model. And when Yeke Koloba saying that, people say, okay, everybody don't talk the way everybody wants somebody to be polite, somebody to be all the people talk with action. Some people talk, they express themselves in different way. But when Yeke first came and said this stuff, everybody was like, Yeke was crazy. Yeke is a rebel. And Yeke did not deny the fact that he's not a rebel. He was a small soldier. They killed his brother. He always says that. But our people got a tendency, if something don't happen to them, they don't want you to talk about it, because when you talk about it, oh, you're too emotional, you this. Charles said it, and that was 1997. He has said it. The record is there. Nobody, we were in Banga. Okay, I left Banga. They fought banga. My mom said for me, we went to the Ivory Coast. But Saturday, they see Joey Howard tell a woman, yeah, they woman, yeah. They woman, yeah, I'm a woman, they woman, yeah. She know, she knows that thing. Her husband, her ex-husband said it. That the day upon she seen upon want to be president, he will expose and me saying I'm not even for chatting and not because I didn't want bro whatever in our country. But he said it. So Mr. Cummings saying that and people saying it's below the bell. We will speak. If it makes them mad, that's their problem. Not our problem. We stay true to our stuff.
We had a great point. And you see, look, we're bringing it unapologetic. Just follow that particular conversation about the president saying that he's a man of peace. I want to hit this point, and we'll go through the letter fast forward. But this is really critical. So while reading this letter, Mr. Cummings, look, Joe, we have people, yo, not stop me from reading this point here. We will make sure we discuss it, and we're gonna go ahead and find it, right? And y'all can try to hide this stuff. It keeps skipping. We will find that point. It says, unfortunately, Mr. President, this has not been the case in the last 5 years of administration, right? It says that corruption has worsened. Oh, that's not the part. Let me just go there real quick. I'm looking for the part wherein it talks about Bujumbura, and that's very, very critical now. And I'll go there. The corruption part we talked about, but I want to bring that part. Okay, perfect. So after he talked, Mr. Cummings put now, like I said, this is the first time we've heard about that, but this is the first time we've seen details in terms of actual dollar amounts that was placed, that we are contributed, right? And the channel that was used. We talk about boats. We talk about how weapons that were purchased using the contributions of Georgia was actually funded taken through the borders and through the waters of Liberia, right? To start this civil war that killed Liberians, the same people that he said he cared about. Mr. President, I did not go to Bujumbura personally, just as I did not financially support or participate in or direct activities of any warring faction in our country. That's heavy. And he speaks about how he was involved with Coca-Cola as a global business executive, right? That's a great point, right? And he said, I do not believe you or anyone else who did and visited the victims in Bujumbura or other refugee shelters now deserves more than other Liberians, right, to be rewarded Liberian presidency, or in your case, to continue to be president in spite of the increased evidence of disappointing and failed leadership of our country. He draws that. This is not an entitlement. This does not give you the right to think that you have, this exclusive right to, to the power of leadership because you want to visit our people. But he said that having visited Bujumbura and as leader of our country whose sons and daughters endured the harshness of Bujumbura, I can only hope that your administration would abandon the pursuit of the politics of division and insecurity, as well as act to rein in the growing corruption, which ultimately led to Liberians fleeing Bujumbura. Simply, look, you say you went to Bujumbura. Liberians went there because of the same things that your government doing today. And you need to stop that because it is not helping and it's going to cause further issue. He said, this therefore is why when your party representative, this is what I was trying to get to, and I want us to listen. This therefore is why when your party representative threatened to make opposition officials disappear, rather than applaud such provocative and dangerous comments made in support of you and in your presence as president of all Liberians with a duty to protect all Liberians, you should have publicly and immediately chastised him. Unfortunately, you did not, and by your reaction, made such expression and possible follow-up action against peaceful Liberians exercising, well, let me see here. And you did not, you should have publicly and immediately chastise them. Unfortunately, you did not, and by your assertion or your reaction, made such expression and possible follow-up action. So basically, you should have taken a stance on there, right? It is not acceptable, Mr. President. It is wrong and undermines the security and peace of our country. This is the so-called peace ambassador, a peace-loving man, sitting there while one of the surrogates, the people who support him, threatens to make opposition members disappear. He says nothing. He basks in the applause that's coming from the crowd in support of that foolery, that idiocy, right? Threats against the lives of Liberians. But you tell us that you're a peace loving man. Gabriel, what do you make of that?
So I want to make a first statement here, and I'll get into that. So one of the things that I think you just read it, is that, and this is a narrative that we hear with the sedition, right? Is that because supposedly we are visited Liberia when they were on the refugee camp, to them that serves, as that gives him the title now for the reward is supposed to reward him the presidency, right? Because he visited Liberians when they were, on refugee camps. So for them, the reward for that is for them to for him to be elected president. You know, the presidency, and I think one of the things that Mr. Cummings said is that the presidency is not a reward. It's supposed to be a place where you serve your fellow citizen. So it doesn't mean that because you visited Liberians on camps or whatever you may have claimed to do on those camp means that you get rewarded to be president. And this is the narrative that they've been pitching. This is our time, and to them that's the justification. The second part of him not, that the comment that individual made, that if they will make him, I think the police chief, that he will make opposition people disappear. You know, if and this is, I don't know that if this is, we're just quick to forget. This is a statement made some by a person on your behalf. If you are a person who is peaceful, who's supposed to be seeking the peace and security of every citizen in that country, you're supposed to call that person, take the mic from him while he's in the middle of doing that, and shut him down in right in that very presence of doing that. But that never happened. The guy made that statement. They went on. How do you associate such a person with peace, with being peaceful? Right? You cannot. And this takes the whole argument that people are saying, "Oh, the man is peaceful." Again, everything that he has done so far, including supporting the rebel groups, standing there while somebody making threat to their fellow citizen that he will make them disappear, and you said nothing and you go home by your business. That doesn't show that you're a peaceful person. Not only that, we've seen the killing that has happened under your watch. What that doesn't show you're a peaceful person. These are people that are, were standing up for the interests of the country. But because you disagree with them, they disappear under your watch.
Yeah.
Again, aka the four auditors, no investigation,
Whew.
right? So
Yeah.
that does not show that you are a peaceful person. A peaceful person, hey, I can stand here and somebody disagree with me, you know, and I will be okay with that. But people disagreeing with you and they end up disappearing, that does not show that you're a peaceful person. And I think these are some of the things that Mr. Cummings is trying to highlight, that your history, you may have claimed that this is who you are, but your history and your action is contrary from like night and day to what actually who you actually are, So that's I think that's what he's trying to point out.
That's a brilliant point. You want to claim that you're a peace loving person, you're non-violent. We're still talking about justice for the dead auditors.
Yeah.
We're talking about the lives of Odell Sherman. We witnessed your government come and put up a bogus report for the late Princess Cooper. There are so many things that's happening under your watch. And you want to tell us, peace loving person or peace loving president sits there and try to use the justice system to go after members of the opposition?
Yeah.
You're right on that part. Let's go to this part here, guys, because we have to go through. I know we don't have it all night, but I think we've covered some real great, some valuable part of this letter. Another part that's a highlight of this conversation
Mm.
that I'm going to run into quickly and just a snippet of it. He said, Mr. President, congratulations on your previous appointment as Goodwill Ambassador to UNICEF, because George Ryan people started talking about his time at UNICEF and stuff. But he said something really interesting, and it's all fact. It is true that leading athletes like you, David Beckham, Lionel Messi, and other celebrities are asked to use their fame for international advocacies and causes. However, as you know, It is not the policy of UNICEF to request the goodwill ambassadors to suspend their work or not to provide travel and daily subsistence allowances to their goodwill ambassadors when they travel to represent UNICEF, as you seem to suggest. So he's telling like, look, dude, that thing you're doing that, yeah, at least like you get kind of attention, right? And rightfully speaking, UNICEF is something to recognize people like you and like other celebrities because you're a celebrity. But
Right.
that's the point here. You said, Mr. President, I'm not a sports celebrity. I am a global business leader. I have never been a UNICEF Google ambassador because I am not a celebrity. However, I believe
God
in
bless.
honesty, discipline, accountability, and hard work, which are missing from your 5 year leadership of our
Mm.
country, thus taking us backward rather than forward.
Yep.
Guys, this right here strategically, it was powerful, brilliant. Hey, look, listen, you want to claim your celebrity status? Go ahead. But the difference between the both of us, I'm not a celebrity. I am a serious global world leader that represented one of the top companies, the most productive corporations in the world. I am a global executive. My job is to provide leadership, governance, and success, something which is missing from your government, from your presidency.
Mhm.
Look, listen, that right there takes the
Exactly.
conversation to a whole new level. Matadi, you just came back, you're fitting in and I'll go to Miara to say that. What do you make of that? Make 1 minute quickly. What do you make of that? Mr. Cummings setting himself apart and just tell, look, I'm not a football player, I'm not a celebrity, I'm a global world leader. And these are the things, the attributes are missing from your leadership. You're in Liberia. What do you make of that?
Yeah, yeah. This is one thing that I do admire Mr. Cummings for his work urges. He's a productive person. He has served in the corporate society, and this is what the system he wants to bring to Liberia. So when Mr. Cummings said that it is missing within the government of judgment that we have for the last 5 years, it's no lie, because trust me, I live next to the road, and our president leaves to go to work around 10, 11 o'clock in the by the daytime, 10, 11 o'clock, which doesn't show any seriousness. And someone will tell you that somebody will say is when the president go to work, people from close to him, they will tell you the next place he will end up is at the invisible park after he built a park. So it shows you his level of unseriousness. There's no serious president that will have serious minded business to do, and then he's here playing basketball or football or tennis ball on the park. It's something that we all see every day. Nobody need to tell us, no rocket scientists need to tell us, but it's just that Liberians have to see the truth in it. That Mr. Cummings, if you look at Mr. Cummings' progress or his historical report from the early days up to where he is right now, this man is based on work. He's based on progress, success, right? And but unlike our president, who's only know about flashy lifestyles, celebrity lifestyles, making songs and going in studios and just doing whatever he called songs or whatever, instead of focusing on the economy, growing the economy, which he do not have any idea about. Unlike Mr. Cummings, who has the idea of marketing, who has the idea of building the economy, microeconomy, and what have you, he knows that. So that's the difference between these two people, and you cannot compare them. They are not in the same league. If you put Mr. Cummings down and put Mr. We are down, I tell you for sure, Cummings gonna murder him when it comes to vote. Thank you.
So, guys, there's so much
He
content to
went.
cover.
He went there. He went there.
He went there. He went there. He went there. But there's so much to cover in the content here, and because of the short time we have in this weekend, I know everybody's got to get with their various family and stuff here. Let's go into
Right.
two parts. Number one, at this point, and then we'll go at the end of the letter to be able to bring our individual conclusion to this here. Now, let
Right.
me let me go to another critical piece of this letter that I want to highlight. So we can we can talk about this, right? So, Mr. Cummings said, as such, while I have not directly worked for any Liberian government, I have found my work to be in the service of the public. I'm proud of the records of my service to several institutions and to our country. And that was where they came with the whole nonsense about working government. He killed that, and he cleverly, went ahead and actually made made it about the truth as opposed to the fallacy. But there's one thing he said. Mr. President, guilt by association is wrong. Those with authority, including yourself, should not make it seem acceptable. However, in your case, it is clear that a senator who is authorized by the Constitution to exercise legislative oversight on the executive is equally culpable. If an administration defaults in its responsibility to the people and allegedly corruptly passes 60 plus concessions agreement,
Mm,
education is something that makes sense. Pretty much what Mr. Cummings is saying. So since they went with the lie that oh you work in government, so no, but you were the senator, and
almost.
if you sat there 60 plus concession pass a senator, and you are not in an appointed position, you were in an elected position, and
Yep.
you had every power or opportunity to hold the
Yep.
executive branch
Yep.
accountable. You
Yep.
didn't do that. You sat there 60 plus concession passed right in front of you, and you want to tell somebody that they were corrupt. You were part of the corruption. So Miana, let me go to you. Mr. Cummings just pretty much indicted him in the same thing he's accusing, but however, he said that look, you don't know your job. You want to brag about being a senator and you want to lecture us about certain things. Well, there you have it. What do you make of that?
Mm,
And what do you think? And in addition to that, I want you to expand on that. We talk about corruption. Mr. Cummings also talked about President Weah's inner cycle. He talked about the sanction and the refusal of the president to actually take further actions on all of those people that were
almost.
indicted, that was actually found guilty, the sanctions were placed on. And
Right.
he said something smart. He said, well, if you're not doing that, what are you protecting indirectly? You understand me? Guilty by association. If all of the people around you, Mike Gill was once believed to run the affairs of the government, and he's been held accountable. We need to start thinking, why is the president not moving forward? Is the president guilty by association? Does the president know more than he's telling us? Please let us know. This is what I said. The CDC administration just created more problems for them because that response, right, from Mr. Cummings will now open an entire Pandora box for people, foreign partners, to start asking and going after some of the, and they already know. They know already who's associated with this corruption and is coming. And when Mr. Cummings speaks, you know something's up his sleeve. Miana, what do you make of that?
I'm gonna speak in Pele Duke.
Okay, so what I would do is hold on the Pella. I want you to
I want to
summarize
tell
it.
my people because all this stuff we
Yes.
speaking English. I want to tell my people what Mr. Comey is saying.
I know. So then, what we'll do, I will give Gabriel the chance, and then what we'll do is,
Yes.
hold on for the pellet. Let Gabriel and myself wrap this session up, and I will turn it over to you to kind of, restate all that we talk about to our people in Pella as well. So, Gabriel, what do you
Okay.
make of that?
I mean, I think that statement itself was clear. In terms of you know that there's this thing we say when you haul rope haul bush, right?
Yeah.
So
Right?
what
Yeah.
I think what Mr.
What I
Cumming was
think what
trying to
Mr. Cummings was
imply
trying to
is
imply
that
is that,
But Tadi, you
but
gotta
Tony,
you gotta mute
you
your
gotta mute
audio.
your
You
audio.
got
You
something
you
there.
got
I
something
can
there.
hear myself.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So what he was trying, what not imply, what he's actually stating there is that by you being present, those concessions being passed, and you didn't say anything, right? And fast forward, you have uh, three of your officials that were sanctioned, and yet the only thing you did, you suspend them. You didn't fire them. That means there's a bigger threat that if you fire them, there is something fundamentally that is connected to you that is going to come out, right? I think for me that's what that was actually pointing to. But in addition to that, I think one of the part that we actually I don't know if we covered that, we skipped it, that I think is very important, which actually you know put this whole argument of what Mr. Cumming has done for Liberia. He actually quantified. We've been talking about it, everything that he's done for Liberia. He actually quantified what he's done, every one of his engagement, $5 million worth.
Mm.
I don't know if we missed that part in there. I
Yeah,
just
I
wanted to put
did.
that out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
please do.
right.
Please do.
He
Yeah.
quantified all of the project that he's undertaking within Liberia, right? To say they up to the tune of $5 million,
Mm.
right? Now imagine, you know, us
Did we
making
not say last week that Mr. Cummings' contribution, if we actually quantify, is actually
yeah,
more than those who run against. We did say it last week, right?
Right. Now,
Yeah,
and that's the point that I was trying to get to.
yeah,
Please single-handedly point to me any other individual who has done that much, who has poured that much money. This is U.S. dollars. I'm not talking about Liberian dollar. Uh, into Liberia, into various projects, right? And that's one of the things I wanted us to talk about. Um, in addition to that, I think the last point that I want to make, hopefully we don't get through all this letter at all at once, right?
yeah.
He talked about resetting the course, you know, of the country towards unity, equality, and shared prosperity,
Mm,
right? Like if I am there, this is what the presidency is supposed to be about. As opposed to, this failed administration that you're running. Your focus should be, you know, to redirecting this country towards unity, equality, and a shared prosperity for everybody. You know, so again, it goes back to exactly what I was saying at the beginning of this conversation. The letter, I think people have missed everything that is talked about. I think we focus so much, but he's calling every statement, every paragraph, he's calling upon the issues, the very issues that are important to this country that we're supposed to be talking about. Like, as I said, the unity. You're not supposed to be a country, a president that divides.
mm.
You're supposed to be bringing people together, right? You're supposed to be building a country where there's equality, and most importantly, what he always said, like the bowl of rice, where it's shared prosperity, where everybody is benefiting from the prosperity of the country if it's headed into that direction. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
All right, perfect. So great point. And finally on this point, and then what we would do after we take a pause, Mieta will go straight and speak to our people in Pele. We will come back and just go to the end of this letter and just go around, and then we'll close up there. But back, and Matadi, this one will come to you very quickly. But let me
Quickly,
let
but
me
let me
go
let me
about this
go
one.
about this one.
Mute that a
Mute
little
that
bit.
a little bit.
Matadi,
My
there's
daddy,
another
there's another
phone. The
phone.
feedback's coming through. All right, perfect. So let me say this here real quick. He says, asking the country to ignore your current failures,
Hmm.
as you seem to imply, but by remembering your kindness of years,
Yep.
so that you get undeservedly reelected, is like a child asking the teacher to pass him, although his performance and grace do not allow it. Only because few years ago he drew water for the instructor. Your performance does not allow for another 6 years of the
Hmm.
Liberian presidency, Mr. President, and our people know it. William Matari Jr.
Matari.
Makati.
Hello,
Go ahead.
hello,
Go ahead.
hello.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is actually the part that I do love in the letter, and I read it over and over and over. And that is where Mr. Cummings used his literature skill to murder the president. It's a scenario that he gives, saying that your performance, you know, over the last 5 years, you cannot come up to tell Liberian people, say, okay, I did this for you, or even your own nuclear town or your Gibraltar that you come from, that I did this for you. And there's no timetable to be shown to the people. And then you coming back to beg them to re-elect you. Just where in himself he already know that he cannot be re-elected under no circumstances. And I like the point where Mr. Cummings says it's like a child, who's in a grade school, who his performance do not allow him at all. No way, he cannot be. Let's say he cannot pass. But then, because he once drew water for the teacher, so he coming now begging the teacher so that he can pass. No. I can always say I want for Liberians to think twice, sincerely to think twice. When Ellen came to power, I'm not backing her, but Ellen said her number one enemy was corruption. And Ellen made sure that people who stole government money, they were prosecuted. Ellen turned Taylor over. What did this president do? He came and said he graded the government 86%. At some point in time, he said, oh no, she didn't leave anything in the cover. It showed irresponsibility. It shows that he's not able to lead the presidency, let's say the country, to another level. It shows that this man is not capable enough. We do not need rocket scientists to come and tell us that George Weah is a zero man. No, we do not need it. 5 years is enough. The remaining 12 months, we already almost in October now. The remaining 12 months, 11 months, it will tell us that he's not even capable. So, at this point, I would just like to tell every young person that we need to wake up and see that how Mr. Cummings, the knowledge that this man has, we need to pay attention to him and understand that he has the ability to lead us to the right path. Thank you.
Thank you, Matari. You can mute your phone there. That's a good point. And look, listening, this letter was it. But you know what, my people? Miata, we said a lot. And I want you to take over and speak directly for a couple of minutes to our people in Bong County. Recap all that we said. Speak directly to our mothers, to our people and stuff, and let's bring it together.
Makbenga nyakango ngapango kapona kalunu no gango miera akwa ko bongani akwa berfane ngaba agenga lunu kapo enune ngagenga poi kwa pa ku ka blahu do hen ngwen ba daga madu gebro ga ba ne madare lunu ga ba ne nyaga hinga be kwa lunu kapo emenga ke kwa hamu ampa te po gwen buy plan này show buy plan này ka joe hawa te da ka mua ge bonga ne ga now jo obonga ba won li mashon ju po a president mangara mo ka me ga pa ga ya kwa ka pele ma ge nga yonga a korte dupona yonga ho foko de la ge la bro pinga daga ma sanction la bro se de mo sanction ga de mage natanya mage pare bangai goto ai na de ga ne ga kai sanction ga ma winga daga sanction ngoi pare mage ne da ga de ga ngoi ka de ga brenga to ga pa na ga ka o kwa ga correction yo mba nga ba nga to nga bonga ne to le ma nga ga da mo de kai ngwa bla nga ga de e jowa hawa te da ga pa ga muka age te pa de para nai o ka ku te ga nya ga ku nia ga te pa de o pon ko ma ting 2017 te pa da winga la da winga ngoi mu ga de en gali ngodo boy en nyawo he anu e mo ka banga ga muka ke no wen da ga ma mesa coming e ko rapinya jo we ga na e da muru ma ga no akpa inu ngang pone ka yonga blai nyonga ngie na nga mugai da session pu nu hawa ba natanya make ben kadaga bel no igbu na aga da session pu dia samina sivan da session pu da ke elesana Cummings ga go epinye obombo na ke obon age imo ane vo mo ane ga pa ga we awo bo elesana Cummings ba lega la broba elesana Cummings ama ga la broba ke no nga daga gui ko ngba daga ne ka voru ga elesana Cummings mama wa bigo elesana Cummings bo te kwai para no wa ngoko ko ni ga pong yo nga ga pong la broba nga dia ga pong ga lo ni dia ka kra nya ka kra he nya ka no ne ka poi ku ga gui ko ngba ku ga no ka po atenke ka ga woro magene dia ka ga woro obongo modi ba ka voru ko elesana Cummings mama ba nya bonga ne lo nya ga no nga po ka he mama ka woto kwa to ere na ko mi po age yonga Liberia ka ba mo bara ke ka nia ka gbene yo age ka nia ka doni ka mama ka he.
That's a little bit
Thank
of the
you.
Kena, and that's a direct message for our people in Bong County. Unapologetic. We set the standard here. We do what we do to educate our people. And listening, we're reaching the depths of the counties as well. Let me go ahead, our fellows and a lady, so we can close up here a little bit. This letter, the conclusion of the letter,
Mhm.
Mr. Cummings says, and this is when he talked about, asking the country to ignore your current failures and to simply re-elect you. He says, uh, that is why standing on the shoulders of the millions of Liberians who desire real change in our country and improvement in their lives, we humbly accept your challenge to meet you at the ballot box in 2023. We are determined and committed to do so not because we hate you, Mr. President, or have forgotten the joy you gave by your soccer exploits, but we must do so because we must rescue our country from bad governance. We need a reset of our nation's course towards unity, equality, and shared prosperity. He said, this is why we will meet and defeat you at the ballot box in 2023 and make your failed and disappointing leadership a one-term presidency. And listening to Mr. Cummings, he was graceful. He went after the issue. He kept himself above the fear. He acknowledged wherein he had some strides in terms of success. And then he says, please accept, Mr. President, the assurance of my best regards. And should you ever desire a public debate or a meeting or any on any of the issues I have and will continue to raise, please feel free to name the place, date, and time, and I will be there. Liberia deserves better. Liberians deserve better. Sincerely, Alexander B. Cummings. Mike drops.
Mhm.
Profound, intentional, direct, a man who understands the urgency, the fierce urgency of now. Mr. Cummings didn't hold back. He was really serious. He highlighted issues. He talked about those issues that are impacting the Liberian people. He set the stage. He showed leadership. And I said this with a stroke of a pen. Mr. Cummings brought dignity and respect to the office of the presidency and our body of politics. Gabriel, I want your closing point. Now that we've reached the conclusion of that letter and the way in which he ended that particular letter, I want you to just give your your points in terms of what we discussed today, and what do you think that Mr. Comics has done in terms of bringing those issues to the forefront?
Again, dude, thank you, Miera, Mantadi. It's a pleasure always being here and talking about these things. So, what I would reiterate what I said earlier. Every paragraph of this letter, called attention to an issue, right? Whether it's refuting some of the things that the president said before, or even bringing out some of the things, the lies that some of his past that we didn't know about, right? But most part of this letter spoke to the issue that are impacting Liberia, especially the last part that you talked about, and I think Matadi um, highlighted some of that, right? Given the past 5 years, what we have seen so far, based on the performance of this president, right? And I think what we've seen him say in public is, "Oh, I'm going to the public to give me new mandate." Like, why would the public want to give you new mandate when you've already failed the previous mandate that they're giving you in the last 5 years? For those that don't understand the magnitude of the failure of this country, I think I did that on another show. Our GDP per capita has dropped. GDP per capita mean, like, if you take all the money in the country, if you divide among the people, the amount of money that belongs to each Liberian has consistently dropped, right? It went from 680 to now we are 630, right? We have failure on the Eton deal. You know, he even went back to when he was a senator, those 66 concessions that were passed, that were all almost like all of them was fraudulent, right? We have killing upon killing within our country, right? And we continue to see a budget that is being recast, a budget that is about to be recast because we can't even meet our budgetary need to the point we got to go borrow just to make our budgetary meaning, to meet our budgetary needs. We got to go borrow money just to spend it, right? This is the country that Mr. Cummings is talking about. This is the level of failure that Mr. Cummings is talking about, right? And he further invite him. He said, if you even want to take this thing from a paper to a physical debate where we can actually talk about these things, be my guest. Name the place, and I will be there, right? And I think this, I will leave it on this note.
Yes.
From these letters that we've seen back and forth, right? What it does, hopefully he can take the debate route and say, let's stand. It elevates the level of conversation within our body of politics. You know, it take away from the whole man power things and put it into an intellectual perspectives and say, no, I'm going to do it bit by bit and call you out on the issues and expose who you are. But at the same time, if you want to go in depth to this, talk about the issue of the issue that are impacting the rest of Liberians in this country, let's do that in an open debate. And I would love to see a debate because the last time we had a presidential election, the guy never debated.
He never
He
showed
forget
up.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, he never showed up, right? So he's now challenging him, right? There's a thing, it's called there's a saying I said, if you want to be the best, you challenge the best. If the president wants to be considered as a serious president, hey, guess what? You have the best person that's challenging you to a debate. Challenge him, and let history judge you on that. So this is like he doesn't understand how these writings and what Mr. Cummings is telling him is trying to hold him to a higher level, but at the same time challenging him to be better. Because if he becomes better, the rest of the country becomes better. We all become better. Yes, we're calling him out on the things like the failure that he's done and all the killings and how poorly the country has been. To the
Yep.
point you'll hear people saying Liberia was better under Ellen time than it is under this president. And that is a fact. That is true. Even though that other thing was a disaster, but they make that other administration look like like they came from heaven,
Yep.
right? But at the same time, the fundamental of this whole letter that we've seen, paragraph by paragraph, is calling towards it's speaking to the issues that are impacting the Liberia. I would like to see a debate. I will take time off work to watch that debate. Hopefully it can happen, but I know it will never happen.
Look,
But this is how much this guy was decimated, and I can guarantee you he will never respond to that again. That was it. This was a nail in the coffin. This was a checkmate. When you say checkmate, this was a checkmate, and this is a game over. So I'll leave it on that note.
Thank you, Gabriel. Miata, your final point.
Mark Benga, me lo ngam wiga ngapa ngapa kampunga we ngam we ponga be buka ngapa ngopo ba me nga ka pra he me no won da ma elizana komi ka vuruga mama ba aga iga CDC hu iga United Party hu iga up hu iga gre hu iga plani yo cry party hu voruka elizana komi mama wa voruka bara Liberia mama ba elizana komi ya voruga ma Liberia ba ka ngo bara ke ya voruga elizana komi mama wa jang mahang gwinga daga ma change mahang aba pai Liberia ya voruga elizana komi mama wa corruption aba play because nye te aba ga president bo ba kaba he kaba da that de over the ga wine the ga de report aba je ko bupo gwinga daga ma economy aba je ko bupo Liberia hu aga Liberia aba barage ha ba ga na ka yenga ha ba ga na just for killing just for killing ha na daga di magai ga do ba ne goro nga de ga kwe wa kwa na ba le na ka voru ga ele sana ko mi mama wa butter Jangbaru gwinga daga ma change butter. Peda mura kwero hu butter. Age kwa ga ngo butter ge. Iko kwa ngo butter ke. Kwa mwe kupa bere nga ga kuyenga kwa mwe kupa na. Kaya kwa pa la bro. Anga la bro December hu. Gebro ga bere na igana. Du Ghana. Kuke kwa lole lok biko kwa mwe kupa kupa akwa. Kupa kunara kwa. Kwa lole ka mamwa. Voru ga e. Kakura kwa tu ka nyaka. Jora longa lu nenga boy. Kakura reka ka voru ka. Ka voru ga ere tena komi mamwa. Yay! Age la bro ga kwa. Kupa waka. Ka he. Ka mama. Ka wega kwa e. Ka he. Ka he.
Miata
Thank you,
Tekina, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave you with this. Mr. Cummings writes, unfortunately, Mr. President, this has not been the case in the last 5 years of your administration. Corruption has worsened so badly in your administration that the United States government has had to publicly sanction 3 of the closest and most powerful members of your inner circle. I and others have tried to draw your attention to the fact that your response to the sanction is weak, inadequate, and ineffective, and implicates the presidency in the unacceptable perception of being corrupt. You see, Mr. President, the sanctions are not just grave and serious because the United States government, our traditional allies, and development partners impose them. They are because the charges ruin the image of the country and smear the Liberian presidency. When the Congress of Democratic Change decided to respond to Mr. Cummings' letter, when George Weah and those individuals that are in the office of George Weah decided to respond to Mr. Cummings' letter, they exposed the government to further damage. They exposed the government to further problems. What Mr. Cummings highlighted are those key issues that are impacting our people. And I'm telling you, this letter is just not an open letter. It's indictment on this government. The international community is witnessing. The government continues to implicate itself and incriminate itself. And I'm telling you, when Mr. Cummings writes, Mr. Cummings speaks, that our international partners pay attention. I can assure you that in the upcoming days and months, you will see some swift actions against the government of Liberia because they fail to listen, they fail to do right for the Liberian people. In the end, Mr. Cummings continues to set himself apart, and I know for a fact Liberians are witnessing, and real change is coming. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you all for joining us tonight on this episode of Unapologetic. It has been an amazing time joining all of you here and actually working along with you. My name is Dukas Strider JJ. This is Gabriel Miata. You're by my people. Working with all of you here tonight. We're gonna book our way out of here. I promise you a great show tonight, and I think we brought our heat. And I want to say thanks again to all of you for following us, for joining us tonight. My name is Duke Strider JJ, and I am unapologetic. We welcome your feedback. We have a chat room for Unapologetic. Make sure you sign into it so you can be able to push your comments. And just like that, I'm out, my people. Thank you so much.
Don't walk, don't try. So first to the high. Kilo can won't share food. They feel when I'm mad. When I land so free on a so far floor. So far, so good. Go need by Joe.